This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We are having a 50th anniversary WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM party at Martyrs at 3859 North Lincoln Avenue this Saturday, May 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m., which is when doors open and the bands start playing at 7:30 p.m. We have with us now at the studio Charlie Otto and His Gear. He will be playing at Martyrs. Welcome, Charlie.
Thanks.
Charlie, how long have you been working with Wizard? Have you played at Thursday Night Live? How long has our relationship been?
Man, I guess I'm gonna guess 10 years with a couple different bands I've played with
Ah.
Thursday Night Live.
And what have those bands been? Just in case our listeners want to check out what your work there
Yeah,
prior.
yeah. So there was a band called Grud
Mm-hmm.
that played. I'm gonna guess, like I could be wrong. Maybe that was 10 years ago. And then I played with my current thing, Charlie Otto and His Gear. So I brought the gear for that one. The gear didn't come to this interview, so it's just me today.
Yes, well, you have a lot of gear. I saw some of the, when you played, and then you have a lot of the sound effects and the shows.
A lot of sound effects.
Yes. So how difficult is it to do a show in house? And I see that there's the lights and then so much gear, and you edit the gear a bit at a time.
Yeah. It's difficult because it doesn't always work. I played a show on Friday and just couldn't get the video stuff to work, so it's just how it goes. But I enjoy it, so you just keep doing it because that's what you're doing.
Well, I guess you're very good at improvising and working on the fly if something goes wrong, because technology, when it goes great, is really great, but once it falters, then we have problems. So
Yeah.
what did you do when the video was not playing?
I just played a show, and there was a different video guy for the other bands, and I just asked him to put something up for me
Mhm.
on the screen, and I just played the show.
Uh-huh.
In retrospect, I probably could have I thought of a solution, but that was retrospect, so it didn't really help. But
Oh,
for next time, so
mhm.
I just keep learning different things that might go wrong, and if possible, I have a duplicate of all that kind of gear. So
Oh,
so that's why there's a lot of gear.
yes. Uh, so when you is the gear are your main band members, but of course there's uh the the people that you have on screen, such as your
Yeah,
wife, Casey Foster.
yeah,
So how do you incorporate that in case our listeners don't know?
yeah. Just sort of, if I'm gonna record somebody, whether it's a drummer or a singer or whatever, I just usually film them uh as they're recording,
Mhm.
usually. And then if I'm playing with video, then I just put them up on the screen during their part in some sort of fashion, and so it's nice. I get to collaborate with a lot of people, but they don't always have to be at every show. So because a really nice thing about all this is like I've been in a lot of bands, and it's just really, really hard to get 5 people together
Mhm.
for anything. We're all hustling so hard with all our jobs. So, there's maybe 30 people performing in this show because I've recorded them. So that part's really nice.
Mhm. Wow, 30 people. And when you do you have them on the screen, and then do your what does your audience think? Do they how do they react to every new person that comes in, do they react to you?
Well, Casey, my wife, is in a lot of the different videos. Um, she sings, but she's also an actor. So kind of, I'm not an actor. So if I'm gonna film anything and I need a performer, it's probably not gonna be me unless I'm this complicated. But if I'm recording, I'm totally fine if you filmed recording, but I don't do any of the singing to the camera or anything like that. That's just not my skill set, but it's hers. So she's in a lot of different videos, and then kind of at one point in almost every show, somebody says, "Who's that lady?" And so they're curious about her, and she writes some songs. I play some of her songs and stuff. So um, they love her. And then sometimes she performs with me. Um, or on Saturday I have a drummer, Matt Rosetko, playing with me. So sometimes they get to actually be there live, but
Mhm. And when uh, she she performs with you, is the does the audience what do they think? Because now you have a beautiful young lady with you, and then is the how do the
I'm very used
reactions?
to them looking at her instead of me. That's totally fine. We've been in a lot of bands together. I realized that very early on. Like we had a Talking Heads tribute band that played a lot, and
Mhm,
I was the main singer. I was the David Byrne,
mhm,
and we played a few shows before we got Casey to join as the backup singer and dancer, and it was like pretty apparent right away that nobody was looking at me anymore, which is strange because you're the lead singer, you think, but they just everybody has to watch her. That's fine. It's fine with me.
And then, of course, you're a magician with the gear. You do so much with all your gear, and uh, do do you think that the audience realizes how much work you put into that?
I don't know. But what I think is fun is that when people write songs and when they produce songs, there's so many fun things that happen during that process. Um, and dur during a show with this setup, I can sort of highlight some of those um, fun things that happen during the producing process,
Mhm,
like if you've got a synth, if you're playing a synth and you're recording and you're gonna twist some knobs to change the sound over time, um, that can be a really fun process. You can kind of uh, you can hear the change as you twist the knob. That's a fun thing, and doing it live and being able to show that my keyboard is kind of angled towards the audience so people can
mhm,
see the knob twist and they can hear the sound change. And when you can do video with that to kind of il illustrate that as
mhm,
well in a way, um, I think it's like I get to show that work rather than whenever it's in a band, um, you kind of just glaze over that stuff. You hope that the band plays it right. That's where you're at, instead of kind of like exploring that fun aspect of recording and producing. So, I mean, I think that the current way I'm doing things really gets back to your question. It gets people to actually see part of the process that normally they don't.
mhm. When you prepare for a show, do you have everything down pat, or does it depend on your mood and the audience, and then you improvise and change a little bit of what you have prepared?
Yeah, that's it. The second one.
Mhm,
It's as much flexibility as I can have. Uh, and I just kind of play a song and see what the audience something something during when I'm playing a song and I'm towards the end of it, that's when I try to decide what should happen next.
mhm,
Um, and I just have like 70 songs in my computer and sort of can decide on the fly. That's how I like to do it.
mhm,
And that's always been a point of contention with bands because they just want the set list,
mhm,
so that they can, like just work on the songs they definitely need to know.
mhm,
And I totally understand why they feel that way. I just never have. I always wanted to have ultimate flexibility.
mhm. And that would depend on what happened to you that day and
Yeah,
how you're feeling.
everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when you had the tribute band, you said that I think I read somewhere that you were making a lot of money, but you much rather uh, concentrate on writing. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Um, it's kind of like if you're in the music business, there's kind of something you figure out right away, which is that covers draw playing a cover will get more excitement from a crowd. It'll draw more people to the show. It'll in general, it's a lot easier to make it in the business if you just play other people's songs, you know.
Mhm.
But and if that's what you want to do, that's great. I got into music as a songwriter.
Mhm.
So I sort of just happened upon this tribute band I was in, and it it went really well right away, which was surprising. It was kind of a new thing for me to have to play a show where people actually were excited about what I was doing. So, obviously you just go for it, but then years in, I just realized like, oh, this wasn't, this was sort of like a trap. Um, and uh, if I'm as a songwriter,
Mhm.
that's not how you write songs, is to be in a tribute band, you
Mhm.
know. So,
But that experience of being in a tribute band, did that help you
you're absolutely
write
right.
in any way?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Learning songs for sure. Anything you're going to learn is, of course, super important. And for writing songs, it's kind of like in comes the songs you learn,
Mhm.
and then out comes something, some combination of all those.
Mhm.
And that's a fun thing and very important. Um, and it was just kind of like we were maybe a few years into this. We had learned all the songs that were helpful for a show, you know?
Mhm.
Talking Heads have like 200 songs. I don't know what. It's a lot,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
maybe learned 100 of them. Um, but people want to hear. We figured out what they wanted to hear, and
Mhm.
uh, for the most part, we just kind of stuck with those at one point because that's what the people wanted. So it's just the thing is, I was hearing from a friend of mine interviewed a couple members of Talking Heads at one point, and this member said, "Oh yeah, I was, or this person was actually in my band for a little bit." She said, "Oh, I was in a Talking Heads tribute for a little bit," and then I think it was Jerry Harrison said, who's in the Talking Heads. He said, "Oh yeah, I was too," meaning he also felt like limited by the songs that they were able to play that and excited the crowd. He had the same feeling even though he was in the band.
Mhm.
You just run out of creative energy when the song list is static.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it stays static, it's just can't keep doing that.
Did they pursue songwriting or other creative endeavors after the tribute band?
Did uh are
Uh,
you talking about the
yeah, Jerry Harrison and
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
so Jerry Harrison, I don't know if I explained well, but Jerry Harrison is one of the original members of Talking Heads.
uh,
And yes, he does a lot of stuff. He produces and he still writes and all that stuff.
mhm.
He doesn't really play Talking Heads very much anymore because this is what and I wasn't there to talk to him, but that was the vibe I got when this person explained it to me was he just he also felt like he had to move on and do new things.
Mhm. And then let's get back to you. What was your first song that you wrote that you were happy with, and what was the first song that you wrote that was successful?
Um, it's a good question. I mean, I was happy with something like many years ago. Uh, one of the first I remember the first time that I was like, you know what, I was learning something. I was learning some tab or some song, and I was like, you know what, you can just write something. And I made some piece of garbage and but I was happy with that. And that's the thing is like it's just a fun process to write. And so I've been happy with a lot of things, and more than anything, kind of struck with the incongruity maybe between what I'm really happy with and what anybody else might be happy with listening to, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that I think that I nothing's really been very successful with anybody.
Mm. Are you still trying to find the sweet spot then?
I guess I just write songs, you know. If somebody if somebody would like it, that'd be fine.
Mm.
I can't really. I think I learned at one point like that's secondary, and I have to just write a song that I think is really good.
Does Casey Foster sing your songs?
Yeah, she sings a lot, and then she has a different. Some of the songs I write, I'm like, I think oh, this is good for Casey and her. She has a band or an alter ego called Nasty Bowie,
Mm.
and I kind of think like, oh, this song is more her vibe. So then either I write the lyrics or she writes the lyrics, and then she sings, you know, and I record her. So we do a number of things under her name as well, and kind of whatever, you know,
Mhm.
it's whatever.
But your work, you recently came out with Mow the Lawn. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, mow the lawn is a phrase used by Israeli officials and think tanks, pundits. It's like a little joke, inside joke with them. It describes the every few years bombing of Gaza. They call it mowing the lawn. Um, Gaza is like hopefully everybody knows at this point, but it's a place where 2 million humans live. Half of them are children, and they've been trapped there for decades inside this concentration camp. And so they call it mowing the lawn, which I find striking. Um, and this song, I basically just took quotes from some translations of quotes from them recently, major Israeli officials, prime minister, and a few others, saying what they plan to do this current lawn mowing session that they're involved in. And it seems that they want to finish what they started in 1948, which was the original, uh, the Nakba, the time that they expelled a lot of Palestinians from their homes and moved them into Gaza. Uh, they plan to do it again and just move them further. And if they have to kill them to get them out, that's fine. They'd prefer them to just they they really wanted Egypt to just take them into the Sinai. They worked on that right away, and Egypt said no. Um, so I guess I just the song is and it's a music video that took a really long time to make, but it um it kind of just shows the implications of that phrase, mow the lawn, and it's the ultimate dehumanization um, of a people, treat them like blades of grass. But in the process, I guess I also was thinking about how like I'm not a super big fan of mowing grass either. Uh, for kind of the same reason. I really wish everything was allowed to just grow. So even though like I don't like that they're comparing Palestinians to grass, I also don't like that we have lawns that we cut all the time with lawnmowers.
Mm.
So I don't know.
When you did your research for the song and got the quotes, how do you go about that?
I listen to I mean, first of all, there's so many quotes. I mean, there's so many terrible, terrible things that they've said out in the open. I think it's sort of unprecedented how many different things they said, which is why at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, when the genocide case was brought, the German the German justice, I think is I think I'm calling him right by a justice judge, I don't know. His comment was really striking. He was like, I was not going to vote yes for this. I really didn't want to. But there were so many quotes of their intent to genocide this group of people that I just had to vote yes. They just have so many. So it's easy to choose. However, Norman Finkelstein is, which I've asked one of the in the past, I've asked one of the Wizard DJs to play some of his stuff. I hear a lot of Chomsky on WZRD, which is great. But Norman Finkelstein is kind of like the utmost scholar on this. He's devoted his life to documenting all this, and he's laid the case since day one for what they plan on doing, and he's used three quotes in particular that he says a lot that are kind of like no-brainer. Yeah, this is what they're doing. So I kind of use those, and then I have been in contact with him for kind of guidance on my wording and how I do things, and he's offered a lot more quotes and a lot of help. So it's amazing. Both Chomsky and Finkelstein uh, are these world famous, very sought after professors and pundits or whatever you want to call them, but they still just respond to an email asking for help because they just want to help these people so bad, which is great. I love that.
In the video, there are, uh, the cartoons are speaking. And the quotes that come out of their mouths are those taken uh, from the actual recordings of them speaking, or
Oh, good
how do you
question. No, I took first of all, it's a translation in a lot of cases. I think all three of them, they were speaking in Hebrew,
Mhm.
and then we took a translation of what they said. And then I make it musical in whatever way I decide. So I just have these quotes, and I mean, the song I didn't start by writing a song about Gaza. It was like, I make a song by making just a song about whatever in the moment, uh, spending a few hours and making kind of a one loop of something. And I had played around with some weird vocal sounds on this one that had nothing to do with that. And then at one point you realize that that's what it's about.
what did it have to do with? How did the subject change?
Um, at first you don't know what a song's about. So I remember the line. I kept the line in the song just because I like how it sounds and everything, but the line originally was wash it down and watch it go down slow, which doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know, not yet. It's kind of like the process of songwriting is discovery of what the song's about. Um, so you don't have to know. I don't think I've ever started a song with like a message that I'd like to convey to anybody.
Mhm.
Some people, I'm pretty sure they do it that way, but that's just not how I've done it. So yeah, the sounds are where I say these quotes. It's just like my voice through a bunch of vocal processors that make it sound really weird. So
Oh, and so you're saying that when you write a song, you don't really start with an intention. So do you start with some music that sticks in your head?
every once in a while, but mostly it's just you turn everything on, and I tend to in write new songs in spurts of like 2 weeks where I write 30 songs or something.
Hmm.
And then spend years trying to finish them or finish some of them. And so I had uh, a week, a couple years ago, I had a week, or maybe last year, I had a week where I didn't have my wife or my kid with me. They were somewhere else. And so I just had all day to just make songs. So you just kind of turn everything on and just start. So not often there's no prompt or anything. You just kind of go.
Hmm. What inspired you to start writing that set of songs? Because I think we interviewed a songwriter just about a week or two ago, and they also said that they wrote a whole bunch of songs and then spent years trying to refine and see what to keep.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think it's nice to just start with no expectation whatsoever.
Mhm.
If I go into it like I gotta write a hit song, or and if I'm thinking about like, I guess I'm not gonna say for sure that that doesn't help. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, I remember one time during that week being like, let's make a Tame Impala song, and then so I just went down there and because I like them, so I just made something like them. That's fine. Uh, but other times, but basically like if I'm down there in my studio with the intention of a certain outcome, I don't think that's very helpful. I think you can start however you want, but basically that it might be nothing at all. What I'm doing here might might begin and end in these 3 hours, and that's fine. Um, but then everyone's, if you want to make an album, then you've got all these what I call them the seeds, you've got maybe 25 or 30 seeds here. And then, what I think I've determined over my time in music and also my recovery from the education system
Mm.
is that the essence of genius, what every kid has intuitively, and then the school system sort of beats it out of them, is that they follow their next impulse, whatever that is, they just do that. And musically, I do the same thing. So I get these 30 seeds, and then if I've got 3 hours to do something, I just go, what do I want to do? And then whatever it is that day, that's what I do. Uh, and I think that's the right way to do it. However, if somebody were successful and told me that no, they do it differently, then maybe you should trust them on that. Because I'm successful in that I write a lot of songs that I really love. But as far as like making it for a big audience or playing big shows or making a lot of money, I can't speak to that. So somebody else would have to explain that one to me as well. So
But you're very busy, aren't you? Do you have a lot of gigs? People, the audience loves you.
maybe I just uh, maybe I just always want more.
Mhm.
So whatever level you're at, I always wonder, it's like, does does Drake feel uh comfortable and complacent where he is, or does he still just want something different, somebody who's just huge? Taylor Swift, is she like, good, okay, I've made it? Or is she still just striving? So I'm just striving, and I think that's just the way it's gonna be. Whatever level I'm at, I'm just gonna keep striving for more. So
So do you find yourself to be kind of like an uh like an go between a song and then bringing it out to the world? It seems as if you have the music and then you're waiting, you kind of have a feel for it, but then you're letting some kind of song take shape that's kind of there, and then you're trying to grasp it.
that's really good wording because I do think at best, the songs write themselves, and you're just
Mhm.
supposed to let them reveal themselves. Uh, in the process, there's a ton of work. Some of it's not even very fun at all. But I definitely feel driven to just let the song reveal itself. So
How long did it take you to write Mow the Lawn and how, research and all?
the song, not that long. Uh, I kind of didn't feel the need to make it some sort of epic storyline. Some songs they really need, in my opinion, like the chords all need to just. I mean, it takes a long time to arrange it because everything just has to lock in place just right. This one felt a little bit more like you just kind of throw it at the wall and it splats there, and that felt right. But the video took 3 months or something of
Mhm.
that's all I did. Because I'm learning programs and animation and stuff that I don't really know. And the research, I'm I don't know if it's a good thing, but I'm sort of addicted to the news from sources that that I trust, you know. So I'm always researching because I'm just listening. I mean, this these last 6 months uh, of the genocide in Gaza, I care a lot about it. I care a lot, and so I don't need to like do anything special to figure out what I'm gonna say. I have, you know, this is really on the top of my mind all the time. I'm eating lunch, and it occurs to me that there's just a bunch of kids that don't have any food, and it's my tax dollars that are making sure that they can't eat. Um, and then, I'm putting my kid to bed, and I'm thinking about a dad that's holding his dead kid, you know.
Mhm.
That's just on the top of my mind all the time.
Mhm. Have you, when you write your songs, have you ever endeavored to find solutions to the problems that you might be bringing forth, such as even for a mowed lawn, have you ever thought about writing a song that would maybe find a solution to the mess?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, there's some songs that e whether politically or just within myself, which most of the problems are like I have an internal problem and let me figure this out. And through the songwriting, I do a lot of times end up figuring something out, and you kind of know when you've got it because you end up crying somewhere in the songwriting process because you figured something out, which is great. Um, and yeah, that politically, I've had several songs that identify a problem and that's it, and then others that come up with some sort of solution.
Hmm.
Uh,
Could you give us some of the song titles? I'm sure that our listeners would love to check them out.
there's a song called How to Win, um, which, and then there's a song called Dig Deep, and those are both from the same album that came out shortly after Trump won in 2016. How to Win is sort of even that phrase is sort of a dig at he's always talking about how he's a winner, and this is how you win, etc. But it's all just sort of based on like make some money, you know? And and I just think the solution is the exact opposite. Not to not make money, but basically that uh we as I don't know if they call it the left or whatever you want to call it, as a group of people who just want the world to be free, uh will we win when we help when we stop oppressing other people. And this system is so rotten that you can't do almost anything without having negative effects on other people. Just our cell phones. I mean, I've heard I can't speak as definitively on this issue, but I definitely follow people that feel strongly that there's another genocide happening in the Congo related to our the the raw materials needed for our cell phones, you know?
Mm.
So just looking at your phone one time, you're just already just smashing a bunch of little kids on the other side of the planet. And that goes for everything. It's not our fault. The system is built that way, and to be able to function in this society and maybe compete for your career or whatever, that's just seems to be how it's done right now. But meaning as a musician, if I get rid of my cell phone, that's pretty tough to get my music out there. There's really only social media for getting your music out, as far as I know, besides the great things you guys are doing here. And in fact, I I get a I get sort of a message once a week on who is Shazamming my songs, who's who's uh who's look hearing a song going, who is this? That's Shazam, right? It's almost all songs that WZRD are playing of my tunes, either a DJ like you is putting the song on, or what do you call it, the robot?
Yeah, automation.
Yeah, the automation. I've given some songs to the automation, which bands, if anybody's listening and makes music, send your songs into the automation. I don't know the exact way to do that. I don't remember, but that automation is amazing and plays a lot of good songs. I'm always listening to WZRD, and I don't mind if it's just random songs picked from wherever, because it's just great. It's all great, and it's all different, strange stuff I've never heard before, uh, for the most part. And then and so like getting back to my point, a lot of the songs that or a lot of my basically my success at reaching people is through WZRD. So I won't say that social media is the only way to do it, but basically, uh, if to compete today, you're going to be using social media, which is you're already complicit in all this garbage on the other side of the world. And the song "How to Win," to get back to that, is basically saying like we everybody's a little too focused on what everybody else is doing wrong, and it's better to sort of see what I can do, and what basically what I can stop doing, because I'm already doing all these things that, and wonder, do I need this? You know, maybe I don't even need to do this and I can just chill out a little bit, you know, and that might be a solution. And basically like the how to win is like at the time everybody was worried that Trump was going to smash black people and Muslims and other oppressed humans. And but we're still deciding that we have our group that should be uh, protected and every other person shouldn't. And usually that line is delineated on the left, that we're all still human supremacists, that everybody's worried about white supremacy, but human supremacy is completely rampant. It's taken for granted just the same way that white supremacy was taken for granted during the time of slavery. And the same arguments that were used to subdue black people during slavery, those same arguments are used to explain why it's totally fine to mistreat every other animal and living thing on this planet. Uh, and I don't think we'll win. The title, How to Win, is I don't think we'll win until we stop oppressing all of them.
Mhm. Yes, and sometimes the mainstream press ignores some of the things that are going on, such as that in Congo, there's not that much attention that is being paid to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's their job, is to focus on, they're focused on, like getting us afraid of crime in in Chicago. Like I have some family in Indiana, and what they're shown every day on Fox News is how bad Chicago is,
Mm.
which is, there are some major things that need to be worked on in Chicago. It's true, but they're not, and they're focused on the crime that's just kind of like a very tiny amount of the actual crime that's happening. Like if they included wage theft and pollution, corporate pollution, those two crimes alone just dwarf, uh, shoplifting and like all the other things that the media is focusing on. But they're not going to mention that either. They have a specific thing that they're trying to show you, because they're trying to convince you to support police and support huge police budgets and support war. Um, that's their job. So I agree with you.
So when you say that you listen to the news all the time, of course you listen to Fox just to see what's going on. But are
Mhm.
there any news sources that you find that are a little bit more reliable?
Yeah, what a great question. We all, that's what everybody needs more than anything is, I mean, to turn off CNN uh, and Fox. And luckily, right now, the same system that is causing all these problems in the Congo, etc., I'm still using it to find good sources. On Twitter, I've found a lot of different people that I can trust. And basically, if you find one, then you can find more through them. So the gray zone is a great foreign policy is the thing that I'm most interested in, because I think it affects everything else. It affects why at least they claim we have no money to help people here. But so foreign policy, the gray zone is good. And um, there's another show called Judging Freedom that has a lot of guests on that I think are important. But and those are both kind of on YouTube or Twitter or whatever. You can find them wherever. But and then kind of just random. I mean, when it comes to Gaza, I have about 10 different Jewish people that have turned against Zionism, that their explanation of things are really helpful. And then the Electronic Intifada is a great group that kind of platforms Palestinians, which would be important to hear from them, you know. So they're really good. And I mean, I could keep going, but that's
Yeah.
a good place to start.
Yes, thank you. And these what you hear on the news do inspire your songs. Sometimes it's not that apparent, right? But that their ceiling is there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think in general, the themes throughout all the songs is kind of like kind of just about not letting go of control. I mean, I was taught I went to school for accounting, and there was even a whole group of classes called control. You learn to control people, and that's what I'm recovering from. And so the songs are, in general, that's kind of what the main vibe is, and most of the political stuff I'm listening to is how to get this empire that is centered in Washington, but it's kind of, Europe and Australia involved, and all the countries that it is subdued all over the world, how to get that thing to stop having so much control.
Colonialism.
Exactly. I mean,
Alive
because
and well.
yeah, every country that we hear of that's so bad, Venezuela, North Korea, Iran, Russia, China, these are countries that have resisted the empire's colonial efforts. That's why the media focuses on them and says these are really bad guys. We have to go smash them. And so like I just think that focusing on the empire's activities are very important. So that's what I spend my time doing, and then writing songs that some of them are about that, and some of them are about bringing all that analysis home to me personally, because I also think a person can run their life and run their body. Their brain can run their body as an empire, as a dictator, or it can relinquish some control, because a person's body has a lot of wisdom in it. Just like democracy is a good thing for a country, real democracy where people get to decide how their lives are run because there's wisdom there. Same thing on the personal level, that if I can relinquish some control, that there's wisdom to be found there. I don't know if that got too complicated there.
Not at all. It seems as if you relinquish some of your control, then you're absorbed back into the world community a bit more.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, Charlie Otto and his gear, when are you going to be at the Wizard party this Saturday?
I'll be there the whole time. I can't. I'm excited to I'm excited to hear all the bands and honestly, I mean, just WZRD, I just can't stress enough. Like it's the best radio station in the city for sure. And I haven't really done the study. Maybe it's the best in the world. I don't know.
Thank you. But what time are you playing on Saturday?
I think I'm playing at like 11 or something. I'm the last act and I'm gonna play until they tell me to stop.
Okay. And you've been working there even before you started playing there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, good. How do you know that?
I think I read it on your website.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like where I went after college to unlearn.
Hmm. Hmm.
They they had an active scorn of college uh learning.
Hmm.
Even like going to college for music, they would still scorn that sort of
Oh.
that sort of education. So yeah, I worked there for a long time and I'm good friends with everybody over there. So yeah, it's always great to play there.
Oh, and another question about control in accounting. Is that like control by numbers?
Yeah, accounting is like you make sure that everybody's reporting things properly, and that sounds good. It's just also wrapped up in all that is like how to make sure that everybody is doing their job, and it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe you put a little sensor in somebody's work chair that can sense when they're sitting there and when they're not, and then you can measure how much time they leave their desk and you can penalize them for going to the water cooler too much or whatever, you know? That's like you learn that in college and they're like and there's no like there's no voice of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, you know? It's just how to do this the best, how to control everybody's movement in ways that even Stalin never even dreamed of in Soviet Russia, you know, like he just he just wanted, you know, he wanted to control everybody, but he couldn't control how much time they went to the bathroom. You know, he couldn't decide when they went to the bathroom. That's what they've put together in this corporate structure, and we're all born into it, so we just go like this is regular, and hopefully I can study really hard my whole life so that I can get a good job, you know, where they'll decide how much time I get to pee. But I think I've just learned a lot. Also, just listening to Noam Chomsky on this station, you know, that there's another way, and that's just realizing that there is another way, that there has been another way that's been deliberately beaten out of us. That's important information that we all need.
Hmm. Definitely. Uh, Charlie Otto, where can our listeners find out more about you and access your songs?
Uh, my website is charlieotto.com. Um, and but I'm on all the different sites, so wherever you listen to music, you'll probably be able to find something from me.
And about when you will be playing, how would our listeners find out about that?
Yeah, the website has the shows and stuff, and excuse me, and you know, Facebook has the shows, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Charlie Otto and his gear. Thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. And thank you so much. We look forward to the show, the party on Saturday, the 50th anniversary party of WZRD with you. And good luck in all your endeavors.
Thanks for all the amazing questions, and thanks for being on air all the time and doing what you do. I'm glad you guys are doing this. And I'll hopefully see everybody on Saturday. I'm excited for it.
Me too. Us too. Thank you, Charlie.